Kia ora, good evening. While very concerned the Tiwai Point aluminium smelter may close, Southland Chamber of Commerce Chief Executive Richard Hay says he's confident the parties can reach an agreement. However, he says Meridian Energy needs to make a better offer.
I believe from inside sources that the Rio Tinto are certainly happy to come back to the table, that the energy company needs to come back, and some very serious finer points need to be sorted out. Of course, we don't know what's within that contract, but there's got to be elements within it, breaking it down, that they can reach agreement on, that overall will give a good result for Southland and indeed a good result for the country.
Do you think there is room for movement on the price that Meridian is charging to Tiwai?
Well, I'm sure there is, because if you consider that we know that Meridian are making out of Tiwai $200 million a year. That's a big chunk of cash. And we know that the smelter is losing $50 million a year. The only one that's really got movement in terms of giving something away, as it were, has got to be the energy company. They've been making a lot of money for a lot of time out of the smelter. I mean, really, when you look at why the Deep Cove was built, Manapori was put there because of the smelter. And I would suggest that the smelter's probably paid for the establishment of Manapori maybe 2, 3, 4 times over during the course of its life so far.
Now, government had made an offer and that wasn't taken up. Do you think that they need to come back to the table as well?
No, I don't, because business has got to stand on its own feet, and it's not good for business, any businesses long term, to live on subsidies. They played a card, and the card certainly wasn't an ace, but from what I understand of what was delivered, Rio Tinto didn't walk away from it, but indeed the government's time frame in Rio Tinto coming back was far too tight, and that there has to be certain processes for a business to be able to look at a proposition, for a board of directors, for example, to look at a proposition, and that time frame just wasn't there to do it.
There's been talk about the life of the plant and that closure at some point is inevitable. Do you think that we should just accept that?
Well, I think when it was built originally, that was sort of the discussion that was generally publicised. But you can't forget that the smelter has been upgraded so many times that it's really state-of-the-art at the moment, as in terms of state-of-the-art for aluminium. It is as good as any plant and better than most from around the world.
Some might say that Rio Tinto's made this deal with Meridian, and that Rio Tinto and Pacific Aluminium can actually overall afford to take the loss. What would you say to that?
Well, I suppose it's fair comment to also say that Rio Tinto have made some good money over the past years. But they're not making good money now, and really from our perspective we've got to put this company into survival mode, so that when things do come right at some point, be it 3 years, 5 years from now in terms of the aluminium price, that we're still there, and we certainly have to have the smelter there for the economy of Southland, no question about that.
Although recent rain has dampened parched areas in the south, a total fire ban remains in place for Southland. The fire ban is being assessed daily, but it's unclear when it may be lifted. Rain has reduced the fire danger in parts of Southland, allowing for a variation to the total fire ban. Burning of crop stubble is now allowed with a special permit from the Southern Rural Fire Authority. Crop farmers need to carry out groundwork now to get crops underway. Principal Rural Fire Officer Mike Grant says anyone intending to burn crop stubble should plan well ahead, as site inspections may be required. Invercargill's first official Uro Power or Māori cemetery will officially open this weekend. The Uro Power on Mason Road is called Te Haumutanga, the last breath. A ceremony on Sunday will see the site blessed and a set of Māori remains believed to be hundreds of years old will be laid to rest. Hundreds of native trees have been planted at the site and a car park and shed have been added. A carved gateway will be erected before Sunday. The Uro Power has been more than 15 years in the making and its completion is a relief for Waihopai Runanga Upoko Michael Skerritt.
I'll be pleased when I see it completed on Sunday. There's still that little bit of anxiety in case something hitches it again, but no, really looking forward to it.
How much work has it been over the years?
Been a lot of work one way or another, negotiating for the land and then going through a consent process, then the Court of Appeal process. Then we've had the planting of the trees and development of car park here and putting a building up. And it's just ongoing, and there's more work tomorrow. There's some holes to be dug and then a gateway put up and then finally the completion on Sunday.
What does it mean for iwi to have this?
Oh, it's really, really important having their own Uro Power, bearing, carrying out whatever when it suits. Likes of in council cemeteries, they're closed at 1 o'clock on Saturdays. Nothing happens after then, but we'll be doing this one 7:30 on Sunday, which is sort of making a statement, really, I suppose, in a way. It wasn't deliberately doing that, but we'll be doing that on Sunday. And the reason we're doing that is so it's suitable and people can attend, because a lot of people have sports and things on Saturday, and wanted it on a weekend so people could be available for this very important occasion.
What has been the response to the fact that the Uro Power is about to open?
Oh, very positive, getting a lot of very, very positive feedback. People really looking forward to it.
After the break, what does the future hold for Solid Energy's briquette plant near Mataura? Welcome back. Solid Energy's briquette plant near Mataura is still being tested, but it's unclear how long this will take or what its future will be. State-owned enterprise Solid Energy faces an uncertain future with debt of almost $390 million, cuts to hundreds of jobs and company operations under review. Decisions about lignite projects are currently underway as the company sells off resource-rich land in the Mataura area. Almost 1,000 hectares of land is in the final stages of sale after it was deemed surplus to requirements. A spokesperson for Solid Energy says the company is retaining enough land for several decades of supply for conversion technologies, including making urea fertiliser. Green Party List MP and small business spokesperson David Clendon is in the South speaking with small business owners at a forum tonight. Making businesses more profitable, socially responsible and environmentally aware is the aim behind a series of talks happening around the country. We spoke to him about what hurdles small businesses are facing.
It's not an easy time for them. A lot of people don't have a lot of disposable income, so the small business sector has struggled in recent years, but they're very hard-working, they're quite creative people, and they do often operate on quite slim margins. I'd like to see more central and local government support for the SME sector. It's quite patchy at the moment. A lot of small business people don't know what support mechanisms are available to them. And I think it's our responsibility as politicians both to make support mechanisms available, but also to tell people what is out there. Things like business mentor schemes, advice about how to restructure your business if that's appropriate. A lot of small business operators work in a very isolated environment, and I think we could do better than that for them.
Is there any policy change that you see needs to be made to assist them?
I think there's a range of things. I think we simply have to recognise that the larger corporate businesses are very able to represent and lobby on their own behalf, and good on them. But there's really not a structured way for the small businesses to be represented in Parliament and indeed in that consciousness. We have the Small Business Advisory Group, or renamed the Small Business Development Group, who do some good work, but I think too often it's not taken seriously by government, and I think we should listen much more carefully to that SME end of town and respond to their needs, because they are a very important aspect of our economy.
How sustainable are small businesses as they set themselves up today?
They're on a spectrum. Some businesses are doomed to fail if they don't make changes to the way they operate. Some businesses are very much leading the charge, even by international standards. There are some examples we have around the country of people who have really committed a great deal to using sustainability as a framework, and it's paying dividends for them. It's a journey. Nobody ever gets 100% marks for sustainability, but to the extent that we can support and encourage more businesses to adopt sustainability as an organising principle, we can help them remain profitable, socially responsible, and protect the environment at the same time.
Around a third of Southland businesses appear to have marked Anniversary Day at the end of Easter this year. Southland Chamber of Commerce Chief Executive Richard Hay says anecdotally the number closing for Anniversary Day on the Tuesday following Easter increased. He says for the first time councils closed on Tuesday to mark Southland Anniversary Day, and it seems this prompted a number of other businesses and organisations to follow suit, although most retailers remained open. Mr Hay says when Anniversary Day is marked is up to individuals, but the move by councils to observe it together could be the catalyst for more to follow suit in the future. In just over 3 weeks, the South Island will go digital, meaning analogue television will be switched off and people will need to switch to digital providers. 92% of South Island households with a TV have already made the switch to digital television. After April 28th, viewers in the South Island will need to have Freeview, Sky or Igloo. Broadcasting Minister Craig Foss is urging people to be ready for the switchover. All regions will have gone digital by the end of 2013. From May 1st, Q Television will be moving to Channel 200 on the Sky platform, but will stay on Channel 23 for Freeview viewers. Coming up in sport, assistant Southern Steel coach Natalie Avellino. That's after the weather next. From the news team, good night.